On our morning show today from WRCO, we put the spotlight on the Richland District. Superintendent Steve Board is in, and Brenda Coleman, administrative assistant to the superintendent and school board of education. Richland District is in to talk with us today as well. We'll find out what she does. But Steve, we're starting with you. How's it going?
It's going great, man. What a beautiful day out. This is the best weather that I've had in 2026 talking to Phil Neef. So it's absolutely gorgeous. It feels like it's should be March, but time's flying. We're officially into the second half of the 25-26 school year now. We passed, our fiscal year starts July 1, and while it might not be that way for students, their second semester is starting here in a couple weeks, but officially into the second half, and boy, the first 6 months have just flown by. It's been absolutely wonderful, and just continuing to move in the right direction, and so many great people and staff and students. But it's a pleasure to be here. So Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
All the things that I should say before we, since the last time we've talked. So.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, I bet those students, going out for recess today. Boy, this is a dream recess day.
Oh my gosh, yeah. They're going to be like, can we have 3 recesses today?
Exactly.
There's grass on the ground, all the snow's melted. We can play foursquare, basketball, kickball, whatever you want to do.
Right.
So I might go down and join them this afternoon. So
I think we talked about that last week, where the state is kind of insinuating maybe more recess time is good. That might be something that's coming up down the trail in education.
Yeah, it's actually one of the things that we will be talking about here in the very near future at our administrative cabinet meetings. We discussed it as in the fall because through our DPI audit that we had with food service, part of our wellness policy, we realized that we were not 100% in compliance with what the wellness policy said that students need to have for recess and lunch and breakfast times. And it's a local policy, so it's not at the state level, but you still have to be in compliance with your own policies. So our school board recently waived that, and that's one of the things we're going to be discussing as we plan for the 26-27 school year, which is hard to believe, right, that we're in the middle of planning, or we're starting the planning process for next school year. But building schedules and building class schedules, bell schedules at the building level, that's one of the things that we really want to be cognizant of, is making sure that we are getting students not only ample time to eat breakfast and lunch, but also to have some time to blow off some steam. Generally speaking, a lot of research shows that one of the worst things that we can do in education when a student misbehaves or doesn't turn in homework or is a little restless is to hold them back from the one thing that they need as an outlet to blow off some of that energy and get rid of some of that energy. And so having planned strategic recesses are a really good thing for learning and a good thing for the health and development of the student body. So it's something we're going to be cognizant of as well.
Boy, back when I went to school, breakfast, lunch, longer recesses, that would have been a dream.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. Like have hour-long lunches and hour-long recesses, yes, and maybe the 15-minute math in between.
Yeah, that would have been all right, sure. What do you look back at, the first semester, any highlights for the district that you can think of, Steve?
Boy, Phil, that's a great question. I'll tell you, we have so many successes, right? But we also have a lot of things that we still need some work on. And so oftentimes I will measure our success by public perception, right? I don't want to look too much into it, but this is a public school, right? And therefore we are the school of our public. And if our public feels that we're doing a good job with things, then that's a big win for me. And I'll tell you, since the last time we've talked, and this is a little anecdotal, but I think no less than a dozen people, maybe closer to 15, that people I've talked to, whether it's at a basketball game or at Walmart or just in the building, have mentioned to me, boy, it sounds like the district's really moving in the right direction. We appreciate, listening to you on the morning show. We appreciate the newsletters that are being sent out, keeping our public informed. So I guess to answer your question, I think one of the big highlights that we have is I think we've become a district that communicates well. And I think that we've become a district that has been very transparent. And you and I have had numerous discussions once a month. And I try to tell, people the good things that are happening, but also the things that we're struggling with and try to be honest with them. I think people have appreciated that. So I think that as a community as a whole, I think that, or I would hope that people see that as something that we're doing well. Internally, I think one of the biggest successes, probably two big successes, the rise of our alternative education options and how successful those things have become in such a short amount of time just reemphasizes the need for us to continually examine how we're doing school, how we're teaching students, because we continually find out that students don't all learn the same way, and we've all kind of known that. But as we really start to dive into some of the alternative education options that we have, whether it's the partner school or the I Thrive Academy that we've got out at Rockbridge, or the Hive, which is our online virtual school, but yet providing some in-person supports, or our off-campus alternative education or GED, all of those different options fit more students' learning styles than one would recognize. I mean, our Hive program, our online, it's upwards over 80 kids now, maybe over 90, and just continually adding more kids in a K through 12 learning environment where they can do school at home. Sure, their parents have to, the younger that they are, their parents have to be involved, but that's a good thing, right? We want parents involved in it. But the biggest thing that we've done there is we've added the two in-house staffing, in-person staffing for students to be able to have access to facilitate that education. And Robin Dickman and Amanda Lewig at the two different grade levels. And in fact, Brenda can talk maybe more about it, but just yesterday Brenda came in and said we've got an open enrolled in application, and they were actually doing virtual school somewhere else. They were open enrolled out doing virtual school, and they wrote right on the application, I'm paraphrasing here, I don't have it right in front of me, but my child was very successful in the program that they did, but we needed them to have some in-person interaction as well. And so that's just another one of those things. It's like, okay, this is something that we're doing that's really good and something that students need. So that, and then of course that goes hand in hand with our enrollment. And we're still facing declining enrollment. Our resident, our county is, our state is. I think I spoke with Tony Kurtz last week. He was in my office, and I think he said 72% of the school districts in the state of Wisconsin are facing declining enrollment. Okay, so 3 out of every 4 school districts are in the same situation that we are. It's just families aren't having as many kids. There's more homeschooling options. There's more private school options, things like that. So they're not in the public school system as much. There's not as many kids, and then they're not in. So we knew we were going to face declining enrollment, but for us to have increased our enrollment when we were facing declining enrollment, I mentioned, I believe, two times ago that I was here in November, that we had enrolled over 80 new kids since the end of last school year. So those are huge wins for us. Those are huge successes for us at a really high level. Of course, we have a plethora of different building wins and class wins and student wins and things like that. Whether it's academics, extracurricular. I mean, there's so many things to celebrate, and we've got such a wonderful staff to help with that. But alternative education and the increase in enrollment has really been something that I've seen here the first 6 months that I'm very proud of.
And those students can take part in extracurriculars and band and choir and
absolutely
sports.
Yes. In fact, we have a lot of them, whether they are in the Hive or some of those other alternative education programs that come up to the high school or come to the traditional classroom to take place in those types of things: band, choir, athletics, student clubs, student council, FFA, those kinds of things. And again, that's great because now they're learning in a way that they can gain the knowledge, but yet they're still getting that social component and being able to do and be involved in those extracurricular activities, and that creates a more confident adolescent. And there's so many after the pandemic. So many adolescents, became more introverts. They didn't have the social skills. They didn't communicate as much. And of course, couple that with the digital world that we tend to live in. And so anytime that we can get students to interact with their peers and be able to do that on a consistent basis, of course, the bell-to-bell cell phone ban, that's great as well. It forces kids to interact. And I tell you, I just there's this feeling as you walk around our schools that students really enjoy being here, and that they're mentally healthy. And I'm not a professional, psychologist or anything like that, but anecdotally, it just feels like kids are happy. And when kids are happy, they want to be here. Attendance and truancy goes down, or absences go down, and learning goes up. And it's just a domino effect, and we've now kind of tipped the needle into that positive direction. So they're very excited about it.
Your district residents, and voters, they want to know that, their money is well spent because they've got their tax bills. And, obviously, that public persona is important. They believe in education, but they want to know that what they're paying for is working, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, everybody did get their property tax bills, and it seemed to be all over the place. There were some, of course, the state, they come out with their formula for every township and every municipality. And then internally, the municipalities themselves may or may not do assessments and how they redistribute the money. But I think generally speaking, city folks saw their property taxes increase some, and maybe rural folks saw a steady or decline. That seems to be pretty standard as I've talked to people. And but to your point, whether they go up or down, and nobody likes to pay more taxes than they have to, but I think it's a little easier to swallow if you know that the entities that you're paying the taxes to are being fiscally responsible. And I think that's something that we can say as a school district. Our board has been great. Our administration and staffing have been great on aligning and allocating our resources accordingly. And resources are, in the form of one of three things. Money, certainly, right, to be able to because we have limited, finite amount of money, right? And it's not like we can do everything we want to do, so we've got to prioritize. But aligning those resources as well as time and staffing, right, and people. I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that. I'm excited about this next phase that our board is going to go through with strategic planning, and even become more adept at what our public wants from our school district.
During your visits, we like to kind of highlight different aspects of the district, staff and whatnot. And you brought Brenda Coleman with you today.
I did. Brenda Coleman is the administrative assistant to both myself and equally, if not more importantly, the administrative assistant to our board. Okay, so, at the state level, people will say the board really has one employee. That's the superintendent. That's who they evaluate. That's who they hold accountable. And that's true. But really, they really got one and a half, right? Because they also have access to an administrative assistant. And so Brenda has been in this role now for a couple of months, and I thought it would be good for folks to, one, get to see her, because if they come into the district office, whether they're filling out election paperwork or they come up and enroll, they're likely going to see her, right? And so one, it's great to introduce her, but also to give people a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at what goes into board meetings and some of that board assistant level work that she's so great at.
Yeah. Good morning, Brenda. Good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
How long have you been with the district?
I have been with the district since 2014. Started out in the high school office as an athletic administrative assistant. Worked with 5 different athletic directors, Steve Board as one of them for 1 year, which was great. And then moved into the role of the administrative assistant to John Bosworth for 1 year, the principal at the high school at that time. And then moved into the business office in the district and did payroll. Did that for a few years. And then this position opened up and seemed like a good fit for me. And so here I am.
Having that background, though, of all those different, areas of the school, that has to help you a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. I think it made coming into this position easier for me, more comfortable. I was already used to working a little bit with Steve, as well as John, who's now our business official. And so just knowing people is a big deal, and just being able to help them and be comfortable walking in the building and knowing who I needed to talk to if I needed something or needed to contact someone. So, yeah, I think all those different experiences have definitely helped.
Do you have a typical day, Brenda? Is there never a dull moment?
There's never a dull moment, that's for sure. And sometimes you think you're going to have a typical day, but then Steve will walk in and say, I need you to help me with this. Or you get a phone call from someone, or somebody decides they want to open enroll their student, and you're left with some paperwork they have to deal with. So, no, there's not usually just a typical day. We all have tasks that we need to do daily, but it may always look different or have to be pushed off differently for sure.
And open enrollment is different than it used to be. It used to be just a small window, but it can happen about any time of the year now, can it?
Right. We have, there is a window for new enrollments, and that is, Steve?
Coming up
February?
here,
Yeah. Till like springtime,
Yep,
basically.
right around mid-April.
And then after that, it's pretty much open, that anyone can apply. Yeah, it's definitely, I had never dealt with open enrollment before, so this has been a learning curve for me for sure, a learning experience, but it's been good. It's just a different aspect to things, but I've enjoyed learning it and doing it. The DPI has changed the way we do open enrollment, the way we report things. Well, that's more for Third Friday, but it has to do with open enrollment as well. We definitely have to work with other school districts. You may have a student that lived in Richland Center, went to school in Richland Center, moved to maybe the Kickapoo School District, but still wants to enroll in Richland Center. So there's paperwork that has to be filled out for that. And then there's working with the other school districts to ensure that they have what they need and they get us what we need, and just making sure that student is accounted for and that they're where they need to be. And so there's a process to that, and it's you have to be accurate at it, and it is a little bit of time consuming, but the goal is to get the student in the best fit for them so that they get the best education they can have.
The pupil count is very important. I know we always talk about that third Friday of the school year, but it's you do it twice a year, don't you?
We do it in September, and I had never done anything with pupil count before either. So that was, and when I went into this position, all of a sudden it was like, here's pupil count. So I was like, okay. But yep, we do it in September, and then again we second Friday in January. So actually, I'm just getting the data in from our different buildings for that count, and then the DPI has changed the way we report to them. We have to report. We actually are doing dual reporting. We're reporting in an old platform and now in a new platform called WISFIP. And actually, this is going to be really good. When it gets good, it's going to be really good because it's going to ensure accurate data, which is what we want, because then we know that we're getting all of the monies that we need, but then also students are accounted for, and it's good to have accurate data. So that's been a learning curve as well. Kathy Fry, who was once in my position, is now with the DPI, and she has just been a huge help to us. One, understanding our district and our processes, but then also just being just a phone call away if I had a question. And so she's been a huge help to me with that as well. So yeah, so open enrollment, third Friday count, second Friday count. And the one thing with the counts is it's an ongoing thing. We've actually been working with the September count even through current right now, just cleaning up things and ensuring that we have everything accurate, making sure that our students are entered correctly in Skyward and our system, and making sure that just everything is the way it needs to be. So it's an ongoing process. It's not just like a one and done deal.
For students, there are more hoops to jump through than there used to be, getting them all signed up. Once you get them, signed up and into Skyward and all that thing, then it's, a little easier then.
Yeah, because then they get their schedule set. We have all of their background information, and then they just kind of just enroll every year. They kind of roll over, and so then it's a little bit easier. Yeah. Absolutely. But it's just ensuring that they're in there accurately from the beginning, and that we're getting what we need, and that DPI is getting what they need, for sure.
Tell us about your role as, helping out with the school board, assisting the school board. I mean, that's a whole nother hat that you wear.
It is. And, I never knew how involved it was to get ready for a board meeting, like just how much has to go into getting ready for a board meeting. I would just think, there's a board meeting Monday night or Wednesday nights, and you don't think about it beyond that. But then when you have to actually start preparing for one, you're like, wow, this takes some time. So because really we are always working in threes. We're working with the past, the present, and the future. So we're working in the past. Past board meetings, I attend board meetings and take the minutes, and then we have to take those minutes and ensure that they're accurate, and then put them into our board docs program, which community members can access on our school website. But it becomes a legal document or a historical document that we look back at for a long time. I mean, it is not uncommon to look back 10 years ago and say, hey, what happened? Was this the way it was? And we have to look back at the minutes of a board meeting to see why something was changed or something was done the way it was done. So we have to ensure we have accurate minutes. So we're working on finishing up a board meeting. And then we're also always working on the current board meeting. I work with the administration team throughout our district. They're responsible for different reports, different things that they want to see in the board book. So there's a lot of back and forth of making sure that what they want in the book, it's in the book. Sometimes wording has to be changed, or we need more detail, or I'm just waiting on them to get something to me, or just the back and forth. So sometimes it takes a couple days, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. And then also working with Steve and our board president, Aaron Unbehan, with the agenda, making sure the agenda is what it needs to be and that's accurate. And, we really, when we produce our book and we publish it for the public, we want it to be accurate. We don't want to have to go back in and change anything. Occasionally that has to happen, but we want it to be accurate when we publish it. And so there's a lot of double checking and making sure we have all our ducks in a row to make sure that happens. And so while we're working on our present, we're also working on our future, because there are some reports that get into the board books that are state mandated. We have to do reports that the state requires, DPI requires. And then there are things that our administrators just want in the board book for information for our public, or financials that need to be in there, things like that. So not only am I working on the present one, but we're like kind of putting aside things for the future one as well, and working on it. And it's a continual, it goes on and on and on. And so it's just a never ending process. But and I'm learning this, and I'm not great at it yet, but getting a routine down is much better for me, and just kind of helps with the flow of things. And Steve's been really good at just helping me with that and figuring that out, and what the flow is that works best for our office, and just to get those documents out there correctly.
When the board goes into closed session, then that's a whole other thing. Do you sit in with those?
I do not sit in on the closed session. I have to help prepare some documents for that, but then I am not privy to that information. I do have to do some of the minutes at the end, but we actually have two of our board members that will take minutes, and then they just turn the minutes over to me, and then I will take what they have written and put those into the official document.
I never thought about that, but how important those minutes are, because you're backtracking, looking at something that maybe happened. Why do we do this, or what happened, or what was the vote, and those kind of things.
Yeah. And I actually was surprised the amount of times. I've only been in this position since September, but the amount of times that we've already had to go back and just look at something to say, okay, let's go back and see, is that in that minutes? So yeah, it does happen.
School board, as far as the members are concerned, there's another election coming up, I believe.
There is. We just finished up the registration of those that are running. So we have 3 open seats, and all incumbents are running. So we're excited to see that. This is something new for me as well. So helping prepare those documents, get all that ready for them. So we're excited to just keep going. I think we have a great board, and I'm excited just to see what the community wants and what we're going to do.
We're thankful that people are willing to step up and fill those roles, too.
Absolutely. It's not easy, I don't think, making those decisions. And they spend a lot of time, ensuring that our students are cared for. And so it's a great thing for them to do that. Yeah, for sure.
And being Steve's boss, too, right?
Yeah. They have to keep him in line. That's probably the biggest thing, is keeping him in line.
Number one thing.
Absolutely.
But seriously, we are grateful that we have people to serve, and you do have a great board, don't you?
We really do. I've told of course, I'm always grateful for anybody who is in any elected position. It's not they don't do it for monetary reasons or gain, and oftentimes it's not even for public recognition. They do have to make tough decisions, whether it's city council, board meeting, state level, whatever, or a school board. But I have told people, and I'm sincere in this, that this might be one of the best boards this district has ever had collectively. Just when you look at all of the different diversity that we've got, the different backgrounds that we have that represent our community, I think it's very representative of our community, but they all get along and respect one another, yet they are not afraid to have hard discussions about things that maybe they don't totally agree with, or they need more information on, or have we thought about this? And then you couple all of that with, staying in the right lanes, right? You often hear administration and school boards are like a 2-lane highway, right? They each have their own lane. They're both going in the same direction, right? But you don't want to be swerving in and out of traffic, right? You don't want administration swerving into the school board. Those are things that the school board has to do. And you don't want the school board getting into the micromanaging of the administration tasks, right? They're not responsible for individual teachers. They're not responsible for individual staff members or even principals. Again, as I mentioned, they really have one employee or one and a half when it comes to myself and Brenda's role. And this board has really grasped that mentality and has really taken it to a new level, and it's just we work so well with them administratively and our board. So a shout out to our board and those that are running. As Brenda mentioned, we've got the 3 incumbents running, but I should say, because even though the deadline for their name to be put on the ballot in the spring is passed, anyone in the public can still run as a write-in candidate, and I think they can do that up until 5 days before the election, give or take. So, we have 3 seats that are open right now. We have 2 Area 4 seats that are open, and Area 4 is an at-large seat. So anybody who lives and resides in the boundaries of the Richland School District can run for that at-large seat. And the 2 incumbents that we have right now are Sheila Troxel and Jill Sharp. And then we have 1 Area 1 seat. Area 1 is what's called the East Section, and it is anyone who lives in the townships of Henrietta, Orion, Rockbridge, the township of Richland, Buena Vista, and Willow. Those townships, if you live in that township and you are a resident of the Richland School District, then you're eligible for that Area 1. And Tiffany Thompson, who was appointed this last summer, her seat is up for election as well. So our 3 incumbents are running. Again, of course, it's available for anyone in our public that represents those areas to do so, but just an outstanding board, really a huge time commitment, right, that these board members are doing for, again, they're not doing it for monetary gain. Brenda and I have to attend board meetings. Our administration has to attend board meetings, but that's our job, right? We get a salary for those things. Our board members get a very small stipend of like $50 a board meeting or something like that. But yet there's a lot of prep work on the beginning to be prepared for a board meeting. All the things that Brenda talked about that goes into a board meeting to prepare what we call the board book, right, that becomes public. It's our board members' responsibility to read that information over that 3 or 4 day window prior to the board meeting, so that when they're acting on things, they are prepared, right? That's one of their duties as an elected officer, is to be prepared for those meetings. And so they've got the prep work on the beginning, they've got the attendance at the board meetings themselves, some of that information that they have in closed session, and then kind of the wrap up on the back end. So a lot of work that they put into it. I'm grateful for the work that they do, but really a great board and some great individuals representing our board.
I always appreciate when I hear about dissenting votes. I don't know what your thing on this, but people are free thinkers, depending on the subject, to see it's not always unanimous on some of the votes.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Phil. It's a fine line, right? You don't, generally speaking, you don't want a school board that is not somewhat united, right? You don't want a 4-3 vote on everything, right, where there's just no agreement whatsoever. But yet you also don't want the other extreme where everything is 7-0, right? Because you have to think about it, that each one of those board members represents 1/7 of our community. And if there is a 1/7 of the community, right, 14% of our community that feels one way, the board vote should kind of represent that same public perception. There are many things that most of the people in the public would agree to. Those things are generally represented by a 7-0 vote. But there are some things that are really, really, a little bit more split, a little bit more contentious when it comes to whether it's budget or things like that, student outcomes. And so if it is a little bit of dissenting, then our school board vote should also reflect that. And so there's this fine line where you want a little bit of balance of both. You want a united board, all moving in the same direction, but yet you want it to be representative of what our community is really looking for. And again, that strategic planning process, I think, will really help guide our board in what our public wants.
Steve Board on the morning show, along with Brenda Coleman, now representing the Richland School District. We'll take time out and have more in a moment on the morning show. Today we're focusing on the Richland School District. Steve Board is in the studio along with Brenda Coleman. Good to talk about some of the things as we enter the next semester. I would guess semester exams and things like that are going on right now?
Yeah, I tell you, we've, since the pandemic, we really don't have those end of semester exams like we used to. Of course, our high school, they run on kind of a block schedule. Not kind of, they do run on a block schedule, but it's not many school districts that have a block schedule will have alternating blocks, what they call A days, B days. So the students will have, 4 classes on a Monday, and they'll have another 4 classes on a Tuesday, and then those Monday classes will happen again on Wednesday, and they just keep alternating back and forth. We don't have that. We actually have a quarter block system, and so students will take their 4 classes. Traditional, probably when you and I were in school, was more of an 8-period day, right? We had 8 classes. Now they've doubled up on those. That's the definition of a block. So they double up on the time. And so students will have 4 classes, but they'll have that every day for essentially a quarter. And then the second quarter, which is what we're in right now, the students will have those 4 classes for another quarter. So over the course of the semester, they've taken 4 classes for all the appropriate time, the same number of days, and the other 4 classes for the other number of days. And so over the course of the semester, they get all of their credits. And that was developed, again, shortly after the pandemic as a way to lower the stress and anxiety and mental health, or increase mental health for staff and students, because the idea was if students only have 3 or 4 classes to do homework for and study for, and on the flip side, teachers only have probably 3 classes plus a prep period to prepare for, that's less work that they would have to do, and they can just have that group of students for that amount of time. And so that's the schedule that we're in right now. Of course, Dr. Johnson and I were always looking at data to see, is that the best schedule? Is that best for student learning, and finding the balance between student achievement and student mental health and staff mental health. But to answer your question, so when we've gone to that model, we don't necessarily have the traditional semester exams like you would have, where you've got all 7 or 8 of your classes given semester exams at the end of the semester, because really our students right now are, as this semester wraps up, they're wrapping up 4 classes, which is the second half of their class load for the semester. So, and that semester ends on a week from Friday. I think it's the 23rd, and the students will be halfway through the school year as well.
Oh boy, it sure goes fast.
Yeah, it sure does.
You touched briefly on the strategic planning process, Steve. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I would. Thank you. So our board, school board, has been doing the prep work for the last probably 4 or 5 months, and they've hired the Donovan Group. Donovan Group is a huge media relations group that is based out of Wisconsin, but is actually a national organization, and they will help facilitate the process. And so this is right now, literally in the next couple of days, is at the handoff between what our board is doing for prep work, and it will be handed off to the Donovan Group, and the strategic planning process will get underway. So our board recently, in fact, at the last board meeting right before Christmas, they formalized and they nominated community members to serve on what's called a steering committee. And the goal was to have somewhere between 10 and 14 members of our community. They wanted the members to represent as many different areas of our community as possible, whether that be from an ethnic diversity standpoint, socioeconomic standpoint, whether it's factory workers, business owners, staff members, students are on this committee. And so they went and they tried to recognize as many different members of the community that they could that represent these different groups. And in the end, they've then reached out. Each board member member reached out to a number of community members that were nominated. And tomorrow night at the board meeting, that steering committee will be announced. And I think we're going to end up with about 12 or 13 people who have committed to it, again, representing all the different areas or as many different areas of our community as possible. And that steering committee is tasked with planning and facilitating a 2-night community event, which is ultimately the strategic planning session. Right, and that will be again a two-night community event where we will get 150 people from our community all meeting in one spot and all talking about the Richland School District, what they love about the Richland School District, what they hate about the Richland School District, what they hope for from the Richland School District, and kind of where they see the school district in 5 years. They're going to be listening from all of these different people, these 150 different people, and it might be 120 and it might be 200, but the idea is that there will be over 100 people representing this. And the steering committee, they're going to spend 4 or 5 meetings planning this. How do we get information out? How do we make sure that people attend? Might have to do some shoulder tapping. Hey, we need you to come. We need you to do this. Again, students, staff, community members, everybody, we need you to be here because we need to hear your voice. And when we hear from 150 different people, not we, when they hear from this group of 150 people, again, give or take, then they'll be able to take all of the information that they heard and do a thematic analysis on it. What are the common themes that we heard, right? We can't fix every single person's wish, right? We may hear things like we don't like the chicken nuggets that are served at lunch, right? We might not be able to fix that, but if 150 people say that would be something that we need to address. But we anticipate that we're going to then be able to get 4 or 5 pillars or themes that we are going to guide our school district for the next 5 years. And so the steering committee, after the strategic planning, this 2-day community event or 2-night community event, likely end of March or right around that area, maybe right before or right after spring break. They gather up all that information. They say, these are the common themes that we heard from the public. They will then make a recommendation to our school board in May or June, whenever that gets done. It's likely that our school board will accept that recommendation, and then we will have these 4 or 5 pillars or themes that our community truly wants and has told the folks that this is what our public wants from our public school. Likely will have something to do with, student achievement, some communication, those kinds of things. But what are the things that we continually hear from our public? Not just anecdotal, right? I mean, I can probably take a guess at some things that I think our school district needs to do, but I don't really know that for sure. This is an opportunity for us to really hear from all of the folks in the community. So it's going to be a huge thing, something that our school district has not done since the 2017-18 school year. So they say that you should do these every 3 to 5 years to make sure that you're continually setting your targets and clearly defined goals. We're at about 7 or 8 years now, so we're a little overdue with this. This is the first time that we've had an outside group do this, and so I'm excited about the Donovan group. It's kind of an administration and board member hands-off, right? We will be there to help guide people in terms of where they can sit and those kinds of things, but we won't be involved in a lot of these things, if any. This is truly a community-run, community members on the steering committee formulating this community event so that we can then gather the information. They can gather the information and then make a recommendation back to the board. I'm super excited about the process. I'm excited to hear from our community. What are we doing well? What might be some of the things that I think we're doing well. They may have different things that we're doing well. Where do we need to improve, right? And that will help us then allocate those resources, money, time, people, into the things that our community wants. Because as I've said this numerous times, we're a public school. We are the school of the public, right? It's their school. And every community has a little different want or need from its public school. And this is our way to find out what does our community truly, truly want, and to be able to listen and to be able to hear and to be able to have it be unbiased, because it's all community run. It's not administration run. It's not board run. I think will be a very authentic process and really get us some great information.
How will people be contacted, or how will they know if they could be a part of it?
Yeah, that's great. So our steering committee, like I said, that was nominated by our board. That'll be announced probably tomorrow night at our board meeting. And then it really will be up to that group of people, 12 or 13 people, to decide how are we going to get this information out? Are we going to go on the morning show a couple of times? Are we going to use the school district's Facebook page? Are we going to use other avenues? Are we going to put ads in the paper? Are we going to put something on a billboard? Are we just going to go around to everybody's house and knock on the door? That will be up for them to decide how they do it. We will certainly help at a district level in providing resources. We do have a marketing communications director that can help with it, but it's not going to be our choice. It's going to be their choice, and we will kind of essentially follow their lead and ask, do how they want us to do. So this is going to be something that the steering committee is going to have to do. But if people are interested in this, I would say just really, really keep your eyes and ears open for this community event that's going to be happening sometime, again, likely in March, mid to late March, possibly right after spring break and that first part of April. But I'm sure our steering committee will do a great job on getting the word out and trying to get as many people to hear about it as possible. I don't know if we're going to have a newsletter that will come out before, one of the newsletters that goes to every household in our county or our district. I don't know if we're going to have one of those to be able to put it out, but we'll make sure that we help the steering committee get the information out in whichever way they want to disseminate it.
Anything new concerning the Richland campus and the purchase and the use?
Yeah. It I think when we last spoke, we were in the process of collecting survey bids from folks, and that initial deadline, we did not receive any proposals for surveying work. We got to be able to parcel out the land from the county-owned land to the part that the school district's going to buy. And so we put out another proposal. We learned that it was a little tight of a turnaround, and surveyors this time of year couldn't turn it around in the time frame that we were asking, which is why we didn't get any. So we put out the proposals again with kind of a proposal, when can you get this done? We have 3 back, and I'm going to be meeting with the county administrator, Trish Clements, here hopefully this week to try to go over those. I apologize to Tricia if she's listening, because I actually was supposed to meet with her yesterday, but I didn't put it in my calendar. And so after I talked to you at the basketball game last night, I don't know if you or Eric mentioned something about the campus. I was like, I think I was supposed to have a meeting today. So apologies to her, but we'll get connected here, and Trish and I will go through those surveying proposals, and then we will get it surveyed. And in listening to the surveyors, or the ones that I've talked to, it sounds like this could be a relatively easy process that could take 45 to 60 days to close, or it could actually be a very long process, a 6-month process if there's public dedication of utilities. And we want to make sure that it's efficient as possible, because the county or the city may have certain ordinances that need to be followed. And it's not just as simple as having a 40-acre field, out in a rural area, and you're parceling off 3 acres, right? Because there's utilities and things like that run through the campus already. Those also have to be considered, and then the city has to be involved because it's within the city. So more to it than what I originally thought, but we are moving in the right direction. Again, we've got a great relationship with both the county and the city. I'm happy to work with those folks, but hopefully we'll be able to continue to provide an update. And but I do know we're moving in the right direction with it.
Good. I know you've been using the gym a little bit, and maybe expanding the partner school eventually as well.
Yeah, well, we're looking at all those options, right? Certainly using the gym right now. Again, the MOU that we have in place with the county has worked out wonderful. The county and Simons uses it a lot during the day. The school uses it a lot, between 3 and 3:30, and in the afternoon and evening. That seems to working out really well. Once we get a little bit better feel for when we're going to be able to close on this. We can look at what is it going to take from a renovation standpoint, what do we have for leftover dollars in the referendum, so it's not going to cost the taxpayers any additional money, and then how do we move our programs that we're currently doing off campus, whether it's the iThrive program at Rockbridge or the alternative education program that we have at the library. Those will be the first priorities. How do we get them moved over there, and what do we need to do? And then how can we continue to expand these programs and continue to try to meet the needs of as many students in our community as possible.
That's exciting.
It is very exciting, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Brenda, thanks for coming in today. If somebody is interested in, possibly open enrolling and things like that, how's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, they can just contact the district office. Just give us a call, and I can help them. We also have all of the information on our school website, and they can go there to find the paperwork. But if they have any questions, just feel free to contact me at the district office.
Good luck with your new role.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It sounds like you've hit the ground running pretty well.
She certainly has.
Yeah, I bet she has. And Steve, we'll see you next month.
Thank you very much. I always appreciate it.
You bet. Steve Board joining us, and Brenda Coleman representing the Richland District on today's morning show.